How's it going, friends? My name is Fringy, and welcome to Fringy Frequency on November 2nd, 2014. You know, I've been noticing a trend, and I'm not too fond of it. We've been seeing a lot of game developers, particularly Ubisoft, but they aren't the only offenders anymore. No, there's more than that. Coming out, and I don't know about you, but I get the impression that they think that we're absolutely fucking retarded. It seems as though a lot of game developers and publishers think that gamers are complete fucking idiots who drank too much fucking petrol when they were growing up. Now look, okay, I will admit that a lot of gamers are fucking stupid, and there are a lot of stupid gamers, okay, let's get real. There are plenty of them. But even I sometimes wonder if they really think we're that retarded. What do I mean by this? Well, we've been seeing a lot of game developers coming out and saying stupid fucking things and trying to pass it off as fact, or trying to pass it off as if it's not a big deal, or things that are apparently good for us, that they're good for us when really they're fucking not. They're the opposite of good. What am I talking about? Well, the most obvious one is the complete fucking frames per second myth, and it is a myth. I showed it to you guys yesterday. Now that 60 frames per second is available on YouTube, if you claim you can't see the difference, you're fucking lying. You're a liar. That's it. You're lying. But we have game developers coming out and telling us that 30 FPS is not suboptimal for games. No, it's not suboptimal, even though there's more input lag and it just looks choppier. No, in fact, games apparently play better and look better at 30 frames per second. And this is coming from the mouths of developers. People whose job is to create games. People who know full fucking well that this is not true. They come out and say shit like this. And it's not just Ubisoft. From Software did it. Ready Dawn did it. They're all starting to do it. Coming out and saying shit like 30 FPS is better for action games. Okay? Now, obviously, the term action game is fairly broad, okay? When you say an action game, you're including shit like Devil May Cry, or Bayonetta, or God of War. You're trying to tell me that a game like Bayonetta that's about fast-paced action and really quick reflexes plays better at a frame rate that makes everything on screen look choppier and increases input lag. Are you fucking serious? Do you think I wouldn't think of this stuff? And then they say this, oh no, see, 60 FPS is good for shooters, but not for action games. It's better that it runs at 30 FPS in an action game. You know, I really see this jarring disconnect here of the logic. So, in a first-person shooter, an action game, a game about action and fast reflexes and shooting shit, it needs to run at 60, you agree. But in an action game about fast reflexes, quick action, and killing shit, apparently that doesn't need to run at 60. In fact, it plays better at 30 frames per second. Yeah. That's fucking ridiculous. And it seems as though it's something that a lot of these developers are jumping on the bandwagon for. Oh, but it gets worse. Some of them are trying to justify 30 FPS. It's more cinematic. We're going for a cinematic feel. Guess what, motherfucker? You're making a video game, not a movie. And if you're going to prioritize aesthetics over gameplay, then you're a fucking moron. Or you're huffing paint. I mean, seriously. You're coming to me and saying, our video game is trying to be cinematic, so it runs at 30 frames per second. Now, we know that's bullshit as well. I mean, the argument itself is fundamentally flawed, because if you wanted your game to be cinematic, why wouldn't it run at 24 frames per second? 24 frames per second is the standard for films, 24p. And then we had Ready at Dawn saying, oh, it wouldn't be good to play at 24p. Yeah, no shit, so we're going for 30. What? What the fuck? You think that adding 6 frames to the fucking frame rate is enough to justify your actions? Now, look, okay, you probably got some console fucker saying to me, oh, you're such an elitist, 30 frames per second is fine. Look, 30 frames per second is okay? It's acceptable. Like, if a game comes out and it's running at 30 FPS, it's not like I'm not gonna buy it, unless it's locked at 30 FPS on PC, then you bet your fucking ass I'm not buying that game. But it's not like I'm gonna not buy it. In fact, there have been a lot of good games that ran at 30 frames per second, like Uncharted. Those games were good. But I mean, we've even seen people like Naughty Dog and 343, you know, really the lead runners for the respective platforms, the PS4 and Xbox One, coming out and saying 60 FPS is a transformative experience. Once you play a game at 60 FPS, you can't go back to 30. I'm talking about like a specific game. So if I played Uncharted 4 and it ran at 60 frames per second, there's a reason why I wouldn't be going back. And it's because of the gameplay. See, this is the problem with prioritizing your aesthetics before gameplay, is that the aesthetics wear off fast, okay? Like, the graphics will wear off fast. Like, eventually you just get used to the graphics. The story is important, but really, the story's only gonna matter once. When you play through it again, you're probably gonna skip the cutscenes because you want to get to the gameplay. Because it's a fucking video game that you play. You're not watching it, you're playing it. And then, of course, we got developers fucking lying to us about, resolutions. Now, you guys know me. I don't really care about resolutions, but I also don't like being lied to. Ready at Dawn is the most guilty in this regard, coming out and saying, we're gonna make the Order 1886 run at 1920 by 800p, with black bars. And the reason why we're doing it is because it's cinematic. Yeah, bullshit, that's the reason. The reason why you're doing that is because the PS4 can't handle it. But you couldn't just come out and say, look, the PS4 can't handle as much stuff as that on screen, so we're just running it at 1920 by 800. Why you gotta fucking lie? Because obviously, if you could fucking get more power out of the console and get rid of the black bars, you would. And, you know, and obviously this lie works because I had someone come up to me and say, oh no, the game runs at 1080p, it has black bars. And I was just scratching my fucking head and it's like, no, but the amount of pixels that are rendered on screen is the resolution. It's 800p. So obviously some people are actually taking this shit and believing it. So maybe some gamers are stupid, but I'm not. Okay? And I don't like being lied to and treated like a fucking moron, as though I shouldn't be able to understand these things. It's fucking ridiculous that they seem to think that we're that retarded. But then what pisses me off the most is that we actually have some gamers taking this shit and believing it, and then going around and telling other more gullible gamers bullshit, and leading them astray, and making them believe that things that aren't real, or things that are just flat out fucking lies, are true, or accurate, or correct. What do I mean by this? So, we have some gamers going around telling people shit like, oh, you know, 30 frames per second is more cinematic, or that 30 frames per second looks better, or that it plays better, or that there's no input lag. Apparently the frame rate doesn't affect input lag, even though, I'm gonna have to explain this really slow to these fuckers. The amount of frames that are displayed on the screen is related to your actions. If you've got 60 frames per second, it means that when you press a button, the next frame will display that action. The next frame will come faster if the frame rate is higher, which means reduced input lag. If you had a frame rate of 1,000,000 frames per second, there'd be no input lag at all. When you press the button, it would happen immediately. But if you've got 30 frames per second, it means that the game has to wait for the next frame to display that action. It may be small, but you fucking notice it, okay? So you got people saying this shit, and you got people saying stuff about, oh, this game is more cinematic, which, by the way, you play games, who gives a fuck if it's cinematic? And the worst one of all is this thing about fucking pay to play online, okay? This seems to be a trend of people saying that paying to play online is okay, and that it's fine that we get charged to pay to play online, because apparently they're giving you something in return. You know, when I went to get my Xbox One, I went to the store, and I said to the guy, and I got nothing against the guy, I actually like him. I said to him, yo, it's bullshit that we have to pay for Xbox Live and PSN. And then I said, well, I mean, as long as they do stuff like implement dedicated servers, which Microsoft actually are doing, so kudos to them, that's fine. But then you got fucking, I mean, it's ridiculous that people seem to think that it's okay to force you to pay for something that you should be able to do on the console. You shouldn't have to pay extra money just to play online. Evident by the fact that a lot of the PC games, for the most part, you don't have to pay to play online unless you're playing an MMO. At least that makes a bit of sense, because you're paying for a service. like an experience that gets added onto. But with games like Xbox Live and PSN, you do realize that when you play Call of Duty, Activision is paying for that shit. It's not like Sony is running the servers for Call of Duty or anything like that. Sony and Microsoft only run servers for the games that they have, like Halo or Uncharted. All that other shit, that's run by third-party people. But yet you've been convinced by developers and publishers that apparently it's Microsoft and Sony paying for that shit. But it's not. And you just believe it, just because they said it. And even though they've been proven to fucking lie all the time. Oh, God. Oh, but it gets better. It gets better because we've got a lot of gaming websites as well that seem to be on the same page as developers and publishers, treating us like shit. It's like they work together with their articles. I remember the fucking article from EA where they blamed DICE for the state of Battlefield 4 instead of saying, we rushed him out the fucking door, so it was our fault. And seriously, we had the fucking article, and this was from GameSpot, that was basically defending this shit and saying that this is okay. Or defending EA and saying, well, it's good that they apologize. You shouldn't give them kudos for apologizing when they fucked up. And then you got people saying, well, at least EA is trying to change. I had a fucker on one of my videos comment on my EA sucked video, which is sitting at about 8,000 views now. He said to me, oh, don't give EA flack, they're changing. I mean, are you fucking serious? You really think EA is changing? You think EA cares about you? That they care about you and your feelings and giving you the best game experience possible? Listen up, man. They don't give a fuck about you. They give a shit about your money, as do a lot of gaming companies. But all it is money. All of it. They don't give a fuck about your feelings. They don't care if the game is good or bad. They care about money. And the only reason that they're starting to delay shit now is because they have another fuck up like Battlefield 4 on their hands. Then people are just gonna jump fucking ship. And that's the only reason that they're changing. Money. How many times do I have to say this, guys? These guys don't care about you at all. All they care about is your money. Money fucking talks. Your feelings aren't gonna buy them a fucking condo in Malibu. Your feelings aren't gonna give their kids a free ride through college. Your feelings don't matter. Your money does. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's like some gamers have actually started to believe that companies care about them. Like, I've seen a lot of people saying, Sony cares about the gamers. They care about you. Okay, let me say something to you. If they cared about you, why wouldn't they just give you PlayStations for, like, free? They care about you. That's altruism right there. Oh, wait, no, they gotta make money, don't they? Yeah, of course. Simple as that. Now, I don't blame Sony for obviously caring about money or any company. You know, you're a corporation, but it's when they fuck gamers over that it starts to piss us off. Another thing developers and publishers like to lie about is DLC. Oh, Jesus Christ. These guys always making up bullshit about DLC and how apparently they made that DLC post-launch. They made that DLC post-launch, you know? That stuff in the season pass, that was made post-launch. We didn't take content out of the game. Fucking lies right there. Lies right there. I mean, if a game announces a season pass and shows off some of their gameplay from before the game comes out, that was made before launch. I mean, you can't even debate it. They are showing you shit in the game before launch. That means it was made before launch. How could it be made after launch? You tell me. Now, Ubisoft has been bad in this regard recently with the fucking season passes. These season passes. Like for Far Cry 4, a game that I gotta fucking buy because I gotta review it. If I wasn't reviewing it, I wouldn't be buying it. I wouldn't. Because they're pulling such underhanded shit. Like, this season pass with all this day one DLC, and then they wonder, like, why are game sales down? Maybe people don't like getting fucked. Although some people do lube up their butthole and ask for seconds. This is something that pisses me off about DLC in gaming, is that game developers and publishers so frequently abuse it. Actually, no, not game developers, because I bet that's not their fault. It's the fucking publishers, Ubisoft, EA, Activision. They're the ones who pull this shit. Like with the Destiny DLC that was already on the disc and all this. Yo, one of the few companies that I've seen do DLC right is fucking Nintendo. Like with Mario Kart 8, for $12 you get 16 courses, 6 new characters, and 8 new vehicles. For $12! As opposed to like $20 for 4 fucking maps in Call of Duty or Battlefield. I mean, that's how you do DLC. But no, like, nobody gives a shit that Nintendo's doing it like that. Because gamers are willing to hand over their money all the time for the same DLC over and over and over. You know it was made before launch. You know that it's not worth the money that you're paying. But yet you do it and you buy Battlefield Premium and shit before the game even comes out. And then you're like, oh, I lost my money. Feel bad for me. Like, if you fuck up and you spend money on this shit, admit the fault on yourself. I bought Battlefield 4. It was my fault. I shouldn't have bought it at launch. I shouldn't have done that. Same with Destiny. I shouldn't have bought the expansion pass. I shouldn't. But I don't go, like, getting people to feel bad for me because of that. It's my fuck up. You know, talking about whether developers and publishers think gamers are retarded, I'm starting to come to the realization that a lot of gamers actually are retarded. Now, I still have a little bit of faith in gamers, and that they're not stupid enough to believe that 60 FPS is worse than 30 FPS, and stuff like that. But when we've got gamers going out, like, every year buying DLC season passes over and over and over again, and getting fucked in the ass, but going back and asking for seconds. I mean, seriously, it makes me upset that gamers can be that retarded sometimes. It's part of the reason why I'm on YouTube. Try and, you know, I'm not like a teacher or something, but try and educate the dipshits. And, you know, try and rationalize and explain to these people why they're getting abused by these game publishers. And how they shouldn't be accepting less than the best. Because right now, we're getting less than the best. Publishers are under the notion that gamers are retards and gullible fuckwits who are willing to just spend money on the same games over and over and over and fork over money for content that they just pulled out of the game. Like the Batman Arkham Knight DLC, or the fucking Goro DLC in Mortal Kombat X, or the Far Cry 4 Season Pass, or the Call of Duty Day Zero Edition, where you get like 2 free fucking guns. Shit like this, you shouldn't be settling for. Shit like this is not good for you. And it's when you fucking pretend in your head that this stuff is for you and that these companies care about you and care about your best interest, you're a fucking moron. Because they don't care about you at all. And when you start listening to the shit that these guys peddle, like that 20, 30 frames per second is better, or that it's more cinematic, or all these other bullshit lies, you're empowering them to continue abusing you and fucking you over and swindling you and taking your money when they don't deserve it. Time to wake the fuck up. Thanks for watching Fringy Frequency. I'm Fringy, and as always, have a good one.